The first dates, the very first date, he calls me up and he tells me that I am welcome to come to his house and cook. So that lets me know off top. He was African American, he was retired military. That lets me know off top what he's used to in Kenya. Welcome to BLAXIT to Africa. I'm Tadre Delora Moignet, a California native living my best life in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you for coming along for the ride. I hope that you are informed, entertained, and inspired to BLAXIT to Africa. Welcome back, y'all. Part 2 of Dating Over 40 in Africa. Specifically, dating over 40 as a Black woman in Africa. You know, we all have different packaging, we all have different perspectives, and we all have different karmas. So, I mention this because your packaging really indicates how you will be received and perceived. And I can only speak from this point of view as a heterosexual Black woman in Africa. I can't speak for those who are non-Black, who are non-hetero. You'll have to suss that out somewhere on YouTube. Somebody got to be doing some type of content in relation to that. And I also present as an obviously Black woman. When I move around Africa, people, they think I'm from wherever I am. You pick me up, you put me anywhere in Africa, from the Horn to Southern to Central to East, maybe not North. Maybe not North Africa. But yeah, that's what I've experienced. So this is my perspective. This is part 2. We having fun, y'all, okay? We having fun. I realize, all right, as I was creating my notes, and I got 6 pages of notes here. As I was creating my notes, it was triggering for me. And I had to figure out how I was going to present this information to you without trauma dumping. So I said, we're going to have some fun. And I know that everybody breathing has been through it in relationships. And this is a part of the human journey. So let's get into it. Part 1, I gave you information about who I am and where I am in relation to dating and relationships. All right. I gave you the average marital age rates for many of the African countries that Black expats find themselves in. And I also compared them against the UK and the United States. So you might want to go back and watch that episode. I also gave you the divorce rates for these African countries in comparison to the US and the UK. All right. And then we talked about dating apps and how they are prevalent here, but I don't think there's any action on the like Senior Match and the Our Time apps that are specifically created for people in the middle age group. We talked a bit about how African patriarchy manifests itself here, how African patriarchy is different from patriarchy that you may experience in the US, the UK. We talked about man versus women, basically gendered dating experiences and how they may be different. And then I gave y'all the numbers on the top 5 African countries with the most millionaires. All right. Because I know that's a big driver for a lot of y'all. And again, we don't want to put out that, we don't want to feed into that trope that we all grew up hearing. Africa is poor and dusty and famine. We're not going to feed into that. It's people balling. It's Africans balling. You probably went to school with them. You probably went to school with their children. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the issue with the African millionaire is that he's married, sis. Okay, that he's married. And once again, I want to say that I don't want to lose the fellas. Fellas, stay tuned because I really want to know if your experiences mirror mine. And be real in the comments. Please don't be mean, but be real in the comments and share your perspectives. I also don't want to lose my girls who are millennials and Gen Z. I be listening to y'all. And what I'm learning is that your experiences are different from mine, but yet the outcome is the same. So I would love it if y'all would chime in as well. Before I get into these stats, I want to say this because I can really like lose track. Myself and my girls who are round about my age, plus or minus, one of the common threads is how younger men are really in the DMs. They really up in here. They can be really assertive and downright aggressive. And I thought like, okay, I don't know. Am I getting more play now as an older woman than I did as a younger woman? I don't really have an answer to that question. However, I want to say like I do get a lot of attention from younger men more so than older men, if I'm to be honest. And what's different? What's different is really the approach. How men would approach me when I was younger is very different from how men approach me today. Today is like, yes, ma'am. Today is much more respectful. Today it's much more, I'm gonna take my time, I'm gonna ease into it. Like, you know, it's not like yo ma, what's up? It's not like hey yo like it used to be. You know, people know they're approaching a younger or an older woman, and you know, they tend to proceed with caution. That's been the major difference that I've noticed. Let's get into the average male income because this episode is presented to you by a woman who is hetero, and this information is for women who are hetero. So you will be dating men. Let me give you the average male income. The average male income across various countries in USD. The US is 51,000. I feel like that could be deceiving because those of us in the US know that most of that goes towards overhead, housing, transportation, food, maybe child support, I don't know. And very little of that is left for disposable income. Next up, the UK, the average is around 37,000 USD. Kenya, the average male income is around 15,420 USD. It's the average, y'all. I know my kids gonna be like, what? That skews really high. It's the average and it's ChatGPT. That's where I'm pulling from, okay? The average in Ghana, we talking annual, y'all. The average annual income for men in Ghana is 2,340 USD. South Africa, 6,750 USD. In Tanzania, 3,100 USD per year. Sis, let me move close. Sis, more than likely, you've been socialized as I have, and that there are dates, there are multiple dates, and these men are whining and dining you. Some of y'all is getting flued out, right? Some of y'all is going on expensive vacations. To expect that from most of these men in Africa, you're going to set yourself up for failure. Unless you're dating an African man who is well off. Okay? I just want to conceptualize that for you. Oh, I almost forgot Rwanda. The average annual income for a Rwandese man is 8,100. These numbers are pulled from World Data and the Human Capital Hub. Uganda, dang, how did I forget UG? The average income is 1,930 USD annually. Okay, so this seems to track. However, when you come over with your privilege and your currency, you will tend to find yourself in circles with men who are doing very well. But you got to find out, are they partnered, sis? More than likely they are, okay? So given the statistics, if you are interested in dating men who are unpartnered and unmarried, that leaves you open to very young men. Yeah, young men. And they out there and they're assertive and they're aggressive. The issue is that in the African context, like 99% of the time, they want children. If you watching this and you 40 plus, you might already have your babies and not be open to making more. What y'all gonna do? Surrogacy, like what y'all gonna do? That's something that obviously you're gonna have to figure out. Maybe you just want something that's fun and casual. You want something that's serious and you move in with a younger man, more than likely he's gonna want some babies. And if he don't get them from you, he gonna get them from somebody else. Another issue for me with younger men is they do want to be in the clubs, and auntie want to be in the house. I'm cool on experiences, like plan a new experience, a different vibe. Like I do love to dance, but I don't want to dance to top 100. I need a sonic. I love a good sonic orgasm. Let me hear something different. You know what I'm saying? Take me there. Show me that. But to be in the clubs till 6 in the morning, like these clubs here, they shut down in the morning. Okay, 11 a.m. Me, no. Which is why the situation where I said I'm open to experiences but not open to being nobody's woman, I said that in part 1, that this works for me because I can have a good time with somebody and they can get all they need elsewhere. Like, you want to be in the club? Gone. I'll be here. I'll be out and I'll catch up with you next week. I did a little research on older women dating younger men, and I got that research from Psychology Today, and it was really interesting, the discovery. This particular research, they asked 200 women about their dating experiences, and they had a cohort of women who were dating older men, a cohort that were dating men that were close in age, and a cohort of women that were dating younger men. And what they found out is that women who are 10 years older or more than their male partners are actually more satisfied and committed to their relationships compared with women who are with younger male partners, as well as women who are with partners that are close in age. And this article was by Justin J. Lay Miller, PhD. The other thing that came out in this research is that there's more social backlash for cougars, if you will. We're just going to call them cougars. I'm not a cougar personally, but just for the purposes of this research, right? So when men date younger, there's less social backlash than when women date younger. I think that this is changing in Nairobi, in the US. I think that this is definitely changing. However, it does exist. And, you know, I'm not a perfect person, but I have judged. Like, I have judged. When you go to the coast in Kenya, the coast in Tanzania, you will find people taking advantage of poverty. You will find people just trying to get out of it. And how that plays out in relationships is much older men, granddaddies, daddies, uncles, with very young women that are probably ranging, like they'll be in public with these women ranging from 17 to maybe 35. I remember being in Diani Beach and this Italian man coming up to me who looked to be like in his early 70s. And he asked me my age, and I told him I was in my late 40s at the time. And he was like, 47 and 72, that's the perfect age. I was like, say what? So anyway, there was a lot of that I saw at the coast, okay, particularly with European men. This is not to say African men don't do it. It's just to say that they're more secretive about it because their social circle is here, right? Their families are here. Whereas with European men, their social circles are not here. There's nobody here to judge. Then on the 2 occasions that I saw significantly older European women with much younger African men, the judgment came out. And that's on me. You know what I'm saying? So just proving that this research is correct. So why are older women more satisfied in these relationships when they're with younger men. The study says there's a power dynamic shift towards greater equality. Hmm. Hmm. And women in a more dominant position, right? Women are in a more dominant position, and some men like that. Some men like being in a lesser dominant position, which is really the whole draw behind this MILF porn, this mother I'd like to F porn, theme porn. And it says women get what they want sexually or otherwise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we gonna get to sexual health. We gonna get to that. So there's that to consider while you over here moving and shaking. The Peter Pan syndrome. I want to try to present this without being judgmental. Old niggas in clubs. It's a thing. It's a thing. Some of y'all from LA, you might remember Reggae Pops. I love Reggae Pops. And for those who don't know who Reggae Pops is, he was a much older man. He would be considered a senior citizen. I don't remember his age, but he would frequent the house music scene in LA. He was a staple, and he could groove, and he would be walking around with his pipe, smoking his herb, and just socializing, and we loved him. When he died, he was on the front cover of local papers. We miss him. He just loved house music. He had more energy than me. I'd be ready to go home. He'd come over. He'd say, "You coming to the house party, the after party?" Sir, I'm going home. The after party. And this is not to say that, Reggae Pops, may he rest in peace, was not a sexual being. This is not to say that. It's giving real thirsty here. That's what I'm trying to say. That was judgmental, wasn't it? Okay, sis. Maybe you thought that you would come here and you would meet a man round about your age who was a divorcee, perhaps like you. Sis, he's in the clubs, okay? That's just it. Another thing that has been surprising for me in this stage of my life is getting with men, engaging with men who are slightly older than me. And the lack of sexual knowledge, the dearth of sexual knowledge it's really been surprising for me, because these men who are slightly older, 54, 52, they have kids, multiples. They have been married for decades. What's going on? How is it that you have not increased your sexual knowledge since high school, sir? Now, a little bit about my background. I have been taking human sexuality courses since I was 17. And periodically, I'll just take another one and another one just to learn more, because there's more to sex than penetration. Hello. So that has been an interesting factor of this experience. Then, going back to niggas in the clubs, old niggas in the club, okay? Most people are going to take the path of least resistance. These older guys, they are interested, but do they want to put in the work? That's the short story. Do they want to put in the work? However, if there's me on one hand, yes, I'm very much interested in her. It looks good. It smells good. It probably tastes good. We're from the same culture. We may have similar sensibilities, right? And then on the other hand, there's somebody who's young and fresh and naive, and she doesn't have a bank account, and all I gotta do is, I don't have to do much. Who you gonna choose? Who you gonna choose? I'm not mad at it. I already said in part 1, I'm a slow build. I am sexually favorable demisexual. Did I say that right? So I'm a slow build, and just to give you like an idea of what I've experienced here. I went out to the club by myself. It was a day party. I sat up on this little wall. I could just hop up there and just chill and look at the crowd and sip my drink. When a groove came on, Auntie hopped in. I was able to like get my little groove on, whatever. This guy comes over to me and he says, in short, we want to know, are you American or are you Kenyan? And he was an older guy in his early 50s hanging out with a group of younger women. And I told him, like, I'm American, whatever. So, eventually he's like, well, he's trying to push up. He's like, well, I want to know, like, do you actually um, date older men? Because everybody that is coming up to you is younger, and are you open to dating older men? Absolutely. Why wouldn't I? I don't have a problem with getting older, so I don't have a problem dating older men. A lot of what I'm discovering is that people in general, but in this case, because of this topic specifically, a lot of older men are struggling with getting older, and so they will prefer dating younger women because they can have another chance at life. And I don't know, men have to chime in and tell me what the experience is like for them. So anyway, I end up giving this man my number. We end up like seeing each other for a couple of months. The very first date, he calls me up and asks me, he tells me that I am welcome to come to his house and cook because he has a full bar and he has a service department. Again, analytical in the head. I'm processing. I must have been processing for a long time because I'm like, did he really say that? What did he mean by that? Did he really just ask me to come to his house and cook for him on a first date? Like, and then I hear him come in. He's like, or, we can always go out. He said like, oh, I'll buy the food, or, we can go out. So that lets me know off top. He was African American. He was retired military. That lets me know off top what he's used to in Kenya. Would he ask that of an American woman in the U.S.? I don't know. Maybe that's his MO. Maybe they do that in his part of the country, not in mine. All right. So I hope that demonstrates the path of least resistance. All right. Then we got the passport bros that are here. I'm going to do some more research about them. Like, I know surface level, but the more I dig into it, the more that I see that there's pain and trauma behind that. And, I'm learning that, they're saying, hey, we don't have access to women where we're from, or the women that we prefer, or I don't know, but they're here. So one of my girls who's East African, and one of her girls, they was like, oh, T, we want to introduce you to this guy. He's African American, just like you. He's age appropriate. He's good looking. He's here working or whatever. And we think it would be a good match. They sent me his picture. I was like, yeah, I'd be open to meeting him. Like, let's just do like a group thing or whatever. They sent him, my photos or whatever. And, we were supposed to like schedule a group thing. When he found out that I was American, he was like, nah, I'm not interested. And that was also my experience once on Bumble. I said, you know what, I'm going to just open myself up to dating non-Black men. I've done it in the past. I could do it now. You just never know the package that your man will come in. Just open up to that. So there was a white American guy on Bumble, and we were chatting, and he seemed interested. And I was like, oh, it looks like you're from North Carolina, wherever he was from. And he was like, yeah, exactly. And where are you from? And I told him, I'm from LA. Unmatched, ghosted, disappeared. Yo, it bees like that. You know what I'm saying? So, some people, it's just like, I want it easy. I'm not trying to deal with what you come with. Yes, I'm going to ask questions. And yes, I have expectations. And I see the BS. I can see the BS from a mile away. And when I don't, and I find myself in some foolishness, I gets out quick. I was actually telling my dad about the situation with the guy asking me to come over to cook for him on the first date. And my father was like, okay, so what's in it for the woman that does that? And I was like, well, Daddy, with that type of situation, if I have less than, if I'm looking for a come up, I'm coming over, and I'm coming over with my girls because we're gonna drink up your liquor, like you said. I have a full bar, right? And I'm also finna peep what you got in your house, how you living, so that I can set my shit up to take advantage of your shit. You feel me? So if that was my MO, I get to see how you live, and I get to see how much wealth you may or may not have. And now I have an entryway. I have an entryway to come over here whenever I want, and I can maneuver this situation and make it work how I want it to work. And I think for guys that are really looking for something real and legit, you need to be mindful of that, because what I'm telling you is my bros from the global north, may they be from the UK, may they be from North America, who want something real, might prove challenging, because I have seen the fuckery and have just wanted better for my bros. And yeah, I'll just leave that there. Okay. Then I talked about the older men, younger women phenomenon. It is what it is. And it's looking like the older bros that are here, that's what they are preferring, which leaves you with younger men. If that's what you prefer, you will have a ball, okay? It won't be free of shenanigans, but you'll have a ball. I talked about this a little bit in part one, but there is a sexual health issue with most men who are in their andropause era. And as I stated before, it happens to the best of us. This phase of your life, whether menopause or andropause, is just the opposite of puberty, and you will notice different things. Like your body will function differently, and it's on you as an adult to manage your health, mental and sexual health. Hello. And what I have discovered is that a lot of these men would rather suffer and hide and play games than deal with the issue at hand. And y'all can tell I be having these conversations with my dad, not because I want to, because who wants to have conversations about their relationships or their sexual health with their dads? Like, I don't. However, when I'm at my wits' ends and I'm trying to understand men, I'm going to go to him because he understands men, and he always gives me the real. And he's almost always right, even though I don't want to hear the advice in the moment. So my dad was just like, Tadra, you get into the age where you're going to run into this more often than not. And just like every menopausal woman's symptoms are different, every man's andropausal symptoms will be different. However, I'm just like, I don't understand how these men is out here chasing. They in the streets, they in the clubs, they got rosters, but they're unable to seal the deal. They're unable to finish what they started, if you understand what I'm saying. So that's why I went to my dad to consult, and he was like, it's a big difference between chasing and sealing the deal. Those are two different things, right? So now, at least in my situation, I'm meeting people, men, typically African American. Did I mention that most of the men that I've dated in Africa have been African American? I may not have mentioned that. And the reason why that has been is because they are divorced like me. You see what I'm saying? Go back and watch part one, because most African men that you will find that are, let's say, 25 and older, they're married, sis. So I come to Africa and I'm interested in unmarried, unpartnered men. They're usually expats, right? So I meet this guy. He has pursued me. We've been dating for 2 months. Remember, I told you I'm a slow build. All right, we've been dating for 2 months, and now it's time. And you don't have that in order, sir. You had 2 months to get that in order. Studies show that bad sex is worse than no sex. Why you got auntie out here like this, knowing that? Oh, all right. Y'all need to be aware of the sugar daddy and sugar mama phenomenon. Y'all just need to be aware. I tend to have more younger men coming my way. People don't really know where to place me, even though I got these silver strands. So a lot of times they don't know how old I am, but they typically think that I'm about 30 something. Um, Folks is out here looking for a sugar mama. If that's your bag, sis, do you. Me, the way I was socialized, I can't. Maybe that's part of the colonization. I need to uncolonize my mind. Yeah, but no, I don't want to. I don't want to take care of another human being. I don't even have children. Another thing that you need to be aware of, because this is under the headline, my notes of poverty. You also need to be aware of the sex trade is strong here. All right. Michael Soy, who he did the piece in the back. This is a very tame piece for Michael Soy. His work is primarily a discourse in the sex trade in Kenya. And how that may manifest for you is you go to get waxed, a Brazilian. There may be a happy ending in it for you, okay? You may go for a massage or call somebody over for a nice body massage. There may be a happy ending in it for you. For this reason, I had a friend who was a massage therapist in the States who was like, oh, no, I will not be offering these services here because I will have to make it plain that erotic massage is not included in the service. So yeah, it's serious. Somebody sent me an article. It said, why are Kenyan women paying for sex? Poverty. You can. And if your husband of several decades is in the streets, you probably know about it. What you gonna do? How you gonna take care of yourself? All right. Let's talk about the European men. I need to wrap this up. I knew this would be a part 2. I knew it would be long. It's a lot to unpack. Let's talk about the European men. Africa has been a playground for Europe since when? A millennia? A long time. All right. And then colonization, and then you've got the stronger currency, and they are here. Since they are here. I'm trying to figure out how to frame this up. In short, they don't want to be used for their currency, and yet they use their currency as an entryway to gain access to women. And what I've heard from African men about the dating scene in Africa, 2 things. Our women just want white men. That's a stereotype, but that's what I've heard from African men. 2, the Nigerian men, they're outpricing us. Okay. And what's the other one? The third one would be like the bride price. How will I afford the bride price? Okay. So let me just give you this little anecdote. And I have quite a few in regards to European men. I'm at a wellness event, a weekend wellness event in Nairobi. And there's an Italian guy there who is vending some products. And he is handsome. He's giving very much North African. He's got the chin length, wavy hair. He's tall. He's olive complected, great bone structure. He's fit. And, he starts to make his move. And ultimately, I give him my phone number, and he's telling me, in the moment, he's like, my mom is like you, and she's very spiritual, and she's very fit, and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, I've been through it, so we gonna see. Twice, Twice, this man calls me up at the last minute and says, I'm going to be at Sarit Center, which is one of our nicest malls. It's a huge mall. I'm going to be at Sarit Center at such and such o'clock. And why don't you meet me there? Maybe we can have lunch or something. The way I said it just now is much nicer and flowery than how he put it to me. So as you can imagine, I'm like, no, I decline. Number one, I'm an adult. I got things to do. I'm expected to drop what I'm doing to come and maybe have some lunch with you. And this is Nairobi. You know about this traffic. I got to cross Waiyaki Way to get to you? Huh. And then you don't even have the decency to curate a date? Bruh, you're Italian. You're not from here. You know what you got to do to get what you want in Italy. Okay. So I'm in my head about this, but I politely decline. And at some point, the man says, I don't have any problems attracting women here. I don't have any problems getting women. I have been nothing but polite. Because what's in my head, I have not. But now, you're going to make me bring it out. So I said, of course you don't. You are an attractive white man in Africa. And what am I supposed to do with that? So what does that tell y'all? This man is accustomed to running the show. This man is accustomed to having women jump through hoops for him on a dime. Ultimately, I ended up having to block him because how are you stressing me out? And we ain't even been on a first date. How are you stressing me out already? Lord. I have so many stories. We need to wrap this up. Expat groups. There's lots of them on Facebook. They usually have a tangent WhatsApp group. If you've never used WhatsApp before, it's used heavily here. It's very efficient, actually. But I found that dating within the the expat groups has been very incestuous. You've got a small group of people, many of them single. I would say most of them single and looking to mingle, and it can be very incestuous. I'm gonna leave that there. All right. So, given all the information that I have laid out for you, statistically, anecdotally, now you might be asking, is it worth it to relocate for better dating options? It's a question that I have asked myself. Should I go back to the US? Should I move to Europe? Where would I go? Where would I go? I know somebody gonna be in the comments and say, but it's you, sis. You are the common denominator. True. I will say that my dating experiences in the US weren't stellar. Like dating in LA was probably my worst experiences. Just like people dating in New York or New York City. So many people focused on their careers, very individualistic. Who's really focused on building relationships? My best dating relationships or experiences have been in Washington, D.C. and in the Midwest. The East Coast is great because I find men to be very assertive. Uganda was interesting because, as the homie put it, no self-respecting Ugandan man would ever holler at a woman. Okay, so how we supposed to do this? He's not married. Love that for him. Anyway, I've seen women leave Africa and go to a place like Turkey and then leave Turkey. I don't know if Asia's really friendly for us, given what I've heard. Europe, I don't want to be in Europe. Like, that defeats my whole purpose of being in Africa. Even though, there are African and Black populations that are thriving in Europe. So this is a question that you're going to have to answer for yourself and, test it out. Um, which leads me to my last question, which is who is really thriving in the dating marketplace? I'm hearing from Gen X, millennials, I'm hearing from Gen Z, men and women, and nobody seems to be happy. One of the consistent themes that I hear is that there's piss in the dating pool. One of the things that I think we need to do as a species is deconstructing the idea of partnership. For those of you who are, been rocking with me on this pod, you know that I've done plant medicine. And one of the things that came up for me in one of my journeys is why do you need partnership? Why is it so important for you to be in a relationship and to be partnered? You need to deconstruct that. That's the message that I was getting. And I did. And I realized that that part of my life is done and I don't need it. And so I ask you this question. Why do you need partnership? Is it a karmic agreement that you're fulfilling subconsciously, or is it just programming? A lot of it is just programming. And if it's programming and if it doesn't serve you, then maybe you should not pursue it. Because one of the things that plagues the dating environment are people who they do not have the emotional IQ to sustain long-term partnerships. And yet they out in the world talking about, I'm looking for my wife. Or talking about, I don't know why nobody will marry me when I want to be married. Sis, why do you want to be married? When you look across the globe, you see all of these movements where people are just disillusioned and dissatisfied with the dating market. We've got the 4B movement in South Korea. You've got men going their own way, MGTOW, which led to women going their own way. You've got radical celibacy groups. You've got singles by choice in Japan. Then you've got voluntary singles in urban areas. You've got the passport bros. Now, what I've seen heterosexual women, black women do in Africa, what I've seen of black women expats who are over 40 dating in Africa, let me just express that to you. I've seen them engage in purely physical relationships, whether that's somebody who's providing a service like massage or an esthetician who's doing your waxing, or just somebody they know they could call up on a dime, come through, ta-ta for now. I've seen that. I've also seen them partner with African men and financially support them and build them up. I've seen them pay for educations so that they're not, supporting this man for a lifetime. I've seen them, position this man so that he can get a foothold and, build a career. And I've also just seen women be celibate. I really, really hope that this information was informative. Part 1 has a lot more stats that help you figure out how you're going to land and also help you manage your expectations. Thank you for joining me on this episode of BLAXIT to Africa. If you like what you heard, please share, subscribe, and leave a comment. May you thrive. May you be inspired. May you move with love and intention. Until next time.